Hi, everybody, and congratulations on completing week 5. There's so much to say and only really 5 minutes in which to say it. Um, I think I'll go backwards in the order in which we did the Padlets. First of all, thank you so much for all of your kind comments and for reading, for sharing the ways in which you're feeling inspired and curious to conduct transdisciplinary research in future. It's been really great getting to know you, particularly those regular posters on the Padlets and everyone who came to the live session. Thanks for being engaged with this. It's made it a lot more fun for me. And I also just wanted to say, if you've got any follow-up questions in the months or years to come, you've all got my email address, and please do feel free to stay in touch. Always keen to talk about your research, particularly if it's transdisciplinary. So yeah, do feel free to stay in touch. And I've been kind of commenting on all of your comments just this afternoon in terms of that third board. So you might want to take a look back at it. But the other thing we've been doing this week is working on this problem of how, with our huge transdisciplinary team and yet only $1 million budget, we can solve that tiny little problem of childhood obesity. It's a great scenario, and it's a problem that really does cut across everybody's area. I really liked a few people listing the different subject areas that they thought might be covered. I just wrote down like health, genetics, education, mathematics, food manufacturing, food production, nutrition, dietetics, law, media studies. There were probably others in there that I just didn't write down. Everybody's disciplines are appropriate for this problem, and that's part of what makes it interesting. I wanted to just like do a bit of a synthesis of what people were saying. I think there was a real emphasis on the fact that as a team, we got so far in Padlet, and if this was a real team with this as a real budget and a real problem, what would we have done? And I like this emphasis on we would need to figure out our shared language and our definitions of like what it is we're doing. I think that came through. But the other things were having clear leadership, who's actually kind of driving things, getting clear on the team composition, and if we had any technical skills missing, perhaps finding extra people to fill that, being clear on the stakeholders. I really like this discussion around, on the one hand, people saying, yeah, we want to include children, and suggesting ways of doing that through things like focus groups and workshops, talking also about parents and schools and teachers. But at the same time, people were saying, yeah, but we need to be really clear about who our priority stakeholders are and also who we're targeting. We've got a limited budget. And so if we're targeting children, we need to also talk about geography, certain regions, and socio-demographics. People were talking about class and talking about which groups we might want to work with from a few different perspectives. And I think that's all completely valid. We would need to do all of that. People were also talking about a theory of change, which kind of, could be part of our overarching team vision and ethos, as would be our way of working. Sort of, there are a few discussions about how do we want to proceed? Do we want to, would we all get together and sit down? That would probably be a good choice. But also this idea of setting up like a Slack channel or some kind of a communication stream would be a good next step. Also having really clear motivation as we address all of these problems, like, team composition and stakeholders and all the rest, having a really clear vision of like what we all believe is the essence of this problem. And at the same time as clarifying the essence, making sure that we capture the full breadth of the problem. So people also specified ways in which we might do that. And I love how specific a lot of you got in your comments. It actually just made me wish, if anyone knows any philanthropists that have a spare $1 million, we could totally do some interesting work on this problem. Wouldn't it be great if it just like out of this 5 weeks, of the subject, we ended up actually getting a research team? So anyone that knows a philanthropist, get onto it. I don't, sadly. Although I am part of a project that recently had a billionaire donate 50 million to them. So it happens. So conduct your literature review, really clear step. But then I love that people started discussing, yes, we need the breadth, we need to cover these different domains. And then at the same time, people were saying, yeah, we need to cover the gray literature. So that's all the breadth. But at the same time, others were saying, yeah, we need to make sure we focus on evidence, and we need to make sure that we're targeting the literature review to what we need. What I love about this is exactly how it plays out for real problems. Is you can't do everything unless you have a much bigger budget. Even then, you still can't do everything. And so what is it that we want to do? How can we capture the breadth of transdisciplinarity while still being targeted? It's such a doozy of a problem. It's got the tension, but the tension is what makes the research work. And that tension was there in some of your different approaches as well, which again, I think tension is really productive, and I look for that in a research team. There was this overarching idea of sort of behavior change, and does that come from a health perspective, or like an even an advertising analysis someone suggested? All of these things are valid. And we were talking about participation of stakeholders is really important. There's this idea of, how does that happen? Is that through focus groups and workshops, or is that through some other way? And overall, this idea that as a team, this is a problem, childhood obesity. There would be other people around the country working on the same problem at the same time and around the world. And so there's a real need to look at what's the strength of our team. What is it that we're contributing to this problem that other people aren't? And it's a bit sad that we kind of stop here and we don't go any further without our magical philanthropist, but I would love to work with this team if it was possible. So I think that's sort of, I guess, where we end the fictional scenario. But really, I just want to say a big thank you from me to all of you for being so engaged with this, for making it so interesting, and for making this content that on its own was kind of, very informative and fact-based. But through our discussions, you've really made it come alive for everyone. And that's just through our social connectedness through this course. So do stay in touch. You've all got my email address. And it's been a real pleasure to meet you. Bye.